what's going on in the south side of Chicago, because on the north side, they're still celebrating their first World Series win since 1908. And now the south siders went, well, how'd you do that? Oh, you rebuilt the farm system.
Blueprint.
So let's take a look at when the Sox could actually be contenders. When you look at it, Chris Sale's gone and Adam Eaton's gone, you bring in this kid, Lucas Giolito, and you got Yohan Moncada, Michael Kopech, and you got Reynaldo Lopez, and Dane Dunning. You look at all these kids that are going to be in this clubhouse. Realistically, once the Southsiders say, yeah, we're ready to compete.
If they can move these guys up to the show this season, I don't know if not all four of them may be, but we'll see. At spring training, they'll obviously be on the original spring training roster. We'll see. I mean, I think that, remember the Cubs lost 100 games, and now that's the blueprint. I guess it was the Astros a year or two before that. Sports Illustrated, our partners, put them on to win the World Series within 5 or 6 years. I think 5 years is a good window. And I really think that the AL Central could be anywhere in 3 years.
You look at it and you mentioned it. When do you call these kids up? And we've seen this in recent history. Bryce Harper, you don't have to look back too far.
Right.
They held him out. It's all for contracts, so you get extra years on their contract.
Chris Bryant's was 2 weeks. Carlos Correa, his was more, when's the right time for his growth? And they brought him up, I think, in May or June.
So maybe you could see a lot of these guys, even if they ball out at spring training, don't freak out, White Sox fans. This is a way for them, your team, to have control over your player for an extra year by not bringing them right up in May.
Yep.
Right? So, or April or May.
That'll likely happen.
So if you can somehow tread water for the first 2 months of the season.
I don't think they're worried about wins and losses in 2017 at all.
Right.
First off, they get an A+ because they're staying consistent to their philosophy. Remember, Sale, his trade to Boston was in a hitch because the Nationals came in the 23rd hour. And the prospects they were going to give to Chris Sale, without exception, the exact 2 prospects, were the 2 prospects that then were sent to the White Sox for Adam Eaton, who I think you and I both believe overachieved. And I'm not saying he's a false bill of goods. I think he's just maybe 70% of the value. And now they get all 4 of the prospects that they were trying to get out of Sale, and they still have Quintana.
It's been rather amazing to see what they've been able to do. And look, we don't know how these guys are all going to pan out, but when you look at their rankings and where they're rated, it's minor leaguers and prospects. There's some really high prospects that people really thought highly of, and they were sought after. And now the White Sox, certainly Moncada, that's the big one right there, that they get him and Lucas Giolito from the Nats. Those are 2 stars that people just assumed Nats did, and certainly the Red Sox did. Now they're both in Chicago.
There's a black and white philosophy right now with, are you going for it or are you rebuilding? Last year, going into the season, there were 6 National League teams that had already publicly said we're in rebuild mode. There were only 10 teams vying for 5 spots. I think the gap's only going to get bigger.